Alright, Ike, we got your first controller here. This is the one with the not loose joystick. And first thing I did was plugged it into my Wii here, which is the one that's got the little GameCube controller plugs. And like you said, no buttons reacting. I've got a little button tester here program that runs on the Wii. And so first thing I did was to see if the connector was corroded at all, so I ran, put some alcohol wipe in there, and I'm just checking to see if it's all the way dry. That looks good, so we're gonna plug that in there, see if anything comes up. Same thing. So, kind of figured that was going to be the case, so what I had done already was, let me just power this down here, removed all the screws. So next thing we're going to do is take the shell off. That's the fun part. So we're going to bring it over to a little workbench area so I can stand up my phone for it also. Let's see. Well, apparently I hit the record button and stopped the recording as I was pulling it apart. So you missed the best part. But I got it taken apart here, you can see. Definitely well used over the years. So I'm going to throw that into a nice warm water bath with some dish soap, and it'll clean right up. And what I was going into some detail on here was this is your motherboard. So you pulled it out of the back here. There's your rumble motor right there. That's what makes makes the controller vibrate. And these connectors here look pretty darn clean. I'll probably rub them over with some alcohol just to be certain, but I think the motherboard itself is good. So I'm thinking it's probably this cable here. That's the problem. And what I'm going to do to test that is these are the leads that connect the controller cable to the motherboard. And we're going to test each one of those leads because those will trace back, or they should trace back, to one of the connections in this port here. So I should get a little beep. Now the other thing is that I was explaining was these little contact points here. There's a gap in between them. So this part probably easier to see with these. So there's that little line that separates those two black semicircles from touching each other. And as soon as you press down on one of these buttons, it presses that black pad down and it closes the gap between these connectors, and that's what tells the system you've pressed the button. You can see there's down, left, up. So that's your D-pad right there. So I'm going to get the multimeter out and we're going to test continuity on that cable. See if I can record that too. Well, there's your buttons pushed out of the controller. And those are going to clean up real nice. It's going to be so satisfying to watch. You can see that too. All the dirt and grime that builds up over the years. It's going to be super clean once we're done with it. The other thing I'm going to do is, these are where the trigger buttons are held in. You can see all that does is push down one of those little silicone forms down there. The other thing it does is this pulls down on these little slider mechanisms. That's what tells it that you've pressed it down all the way or only partial the way. It's pretty ingenious. So I'm going to take a little screwdriver to here and take these out on both sides and throw those in the nice warm soapy water also. Now we'll get to the continuity. And there's the little covers. There's that one too. And what's neat about these is there's the little springs. Everything had the phone like that. There's the springs. And what we do is we pinch them together and just kind of pull them out of there, like so. And one of the things I'll show you here, so that spring stays in like that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that off there, because we're going to wash this, throw that in the tub. This will probably be okay, but I do want to wash the silicone pad too, which I can just kind of pull out, just like that. So I'll leave the spring mechanism there. I'll pull this one out too. Again, gonna pull that off and get the silicone connection piece out, and now, other than one screw that I had dropped in there, the back shell is empty. This one we're gonna put in the dishwasher, or not the dishwasher, that would probably not be good. We're gonna put all of this, I'm gonna fill this up with nice soapy warm water, and I'm gonna scrub it. I've got a little brush here, which is probably one of my favorite purchases off of the good old AliExpress. And here it is. Let's see if I can find it. Working on getting a little bit more organized, but this thing right here, nice little plastic wire brush. It's got a little skinny part on the back too that focuses. So we're gonna wash it and scrub it with that. So what I'm gonna do now is we are gonna test continuity on that cable. Should be a pretty straightforward test. Turn on my multimeter here. And we got our testing probes. So watch what happens. So these will be able to tell us if there's a broken connection between anything metal. So if I touch this, it also has connection because they are electrically connected. So what I'm going to try doing, we'll see how this works. I might end up having to get an alligator clip out, but I have way too many cables here. That's what I know right now. Let's see. This over here. This over there. Maybe one day this will be all organized and it'll be great. So, I am going to stick this, we'll say right there on that end. Now it's possible that it's just one of the leads. In either case, it's probably going to need to be... Oh. So one lead is good. Let's see about the other one. That's 2. Good. So we've got 3. And come on now. Let's feel those ones. Let's see if it's just how I'm holding it. This is kind of a pain in the butt. Okay, that's that one. And last one. Let's see if we can... Well, yeah, one of those leads is not making connection. The other one, I have a feeling is probably ground. Yep, so that's the outside. So it's really this one middle connector here is not making the connection it needs to be. So what we can also do is we can kind of throw this in here and say, which one makes connection, and which one doesn't. So I've got, you know what, here I'm going to use my little helping hands. That's what these guys are supposed to be for. Okay. This is, I'm pretty sure exactly what Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man had in mind when he was making himself the little lab arms. I'm like, yeah, I could use some of those. So we'll just say that's number 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 reads. Two and 4. Two, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 4, and 5. And 1, 2. Interesting. This reads on 4 and 5, so that's probably why the whole thing's not working, because a lot of those connectors are going to ground, which I don't believe they should be. So that means the signal's not getting where it's supposed to. It's going to pretty much this outside shell here. So I think we need a replacement cable from the looks of it. So we'll do, I'm just going to do a little feel here. Yeah, there's definitely some pointy parts here. This should really all be smooth. And what's probably happened is a lot of the shielding inside, essentially the rubber that coats the wires, has opened up, and now the wire that's inside is contacting the ground shield on the outside of it, and that's just making it so that it's not any good. So I think we'll get a new cable here, and we'll get it washed up too, so I can pop these off. There's a little C joystick, and this one too. At least this joystick seems to be working okay. Might clean that up a little bit too, but we'll throw these in the wash too. Alright, to be continued. Alright, well, we've got the motherboard set up. We're going to be removing the cable in a couple seconds here. I'll show you, this is the cleaned up controller pieces. I think it turned out pretty well. And let's see if we can set this up so you can watch I'm going to use this tool here, which is called a desoldering iron. Essentially, it's got a plunger here where it's like a regular soldering iron with the tip here. It gets very hot. Push this down, get it hot underneath it, and then I press the button and it sucks up the solder. So we're going to see if we can use that to take out these soldering joints here and remove the cable, and then we'll solder on a new one. Get my fume collector set up, turn it on, and see if we can get this so you can see it too. Maybe not. We'll try it. Hopefully it auto rotates. Sorry if not. Actually, here, let's stop recording and we'll start it. First things first. Tin this up. Add some flux here. Makes the solder flow a little bit better. Yeah. Alright. A little bit interrupted there. But, let's see. Might need to push this out a little bit more. Sometimes getting it hot and pushing it through can help. And there we go. Got the wire loose. So next step, take, I'm going to pause because of course I forgot which color goes where. So let's go. Put my little iron there because I have a spare cord here ordered for a different controller. It'll work just as well in this one. You can see it's already got the white connector there. So I just got to plug that in there, and we'll kind of crimp it up with some zip ties like they did, and we'll see if we're off to the races. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder this in, and then we'll test it. We'll make sure that the wire was actually the problem. Alright, be back soon. Alright, so double checked our video from last time and confirmed that this cable does match up wire-wise, color-wise with the other one, so we're good there. And we're going to do blue on the right and black on the left. So we're just going to, this should insert right into those holes. Maybe. I have to take these arms off for a minute. Come on. A little bit. Alright, here we go. Got that in there. So next up, use my little helping hands here. And we're going to bend those up a little bit. I'm going to get some more flux. And the flux is what helps the solder make the connection. So I'm actually going to switch out. I've got a very tiny tip on my soldering iron right now. It's not on, so I can touch it. Definitely got to let it cool off before you make any changes, but I'm going to take that off, this tip off, and this one's been my favorite one lately. I feel like I've had the best luck with a lot of my projects with this tip. So we're going to put this one back on. We're going to turn on our soldering station. Turn it on. Got to 680 degrees Fahrenheit. What we're going to do is turn on our fume extractor. And I'm just going to wait until it starts melting the solder. I can actually see the on my solder station tells me what the temperature is, so we're getting there. We're at about 568 right now. And we're at 680, so it takes a little bit for it to catch up, but as soon as this starts melting onto the soldering iron, should be able to start putting it over onto the component. There we go. And might be able to see, might not, probably not. That's my guess. Oh, I do not like this flux that I got. Really quite terrible. Okay. I'll some soldering iron here, and I'm actually going to show you a couple different views. So there's our new solder joints, and up there you can see the flux didn't actually do too bad much. So, alright, now the real test is going to come from, we'll see if this actually works now. Alright, so I've got the controller hooked up. Got our testing application up now, and what I've done is I've taken just one of the little one-off from the shoulder pads, and just to test it out to see if we get anything. We were getting nothing before on any of the buttons, and now, notice, wait for it, we've got down, we've got right, we've got up, we've got, I think I was able to get left, there we go, we got left. And there's the joystick, up, down. We got reaction from everything. So I think, let's press the start button. Start, yeah. A, B, Z, X, and B. All right, we got X, Y, A, and B. So I think we're in good shape. The new wire did it. Success! So next step's just going to be putting the thing back together once everything dries out, which I'm just going to give it a little bit longer, and then we'll pop it back in its case. Alright, well I am super duper happy about the fact that that worked. Makes me very excited when things actually work how you intend them to, or intend for them to. So right now I'm putting the joysticks back on, and I got a set of like, I think 6 or so of them. So I'm putting some new joysticks on there because the old ones, you've seen better days, that's for sure. So I'll toss some new ones on it. And just give it the old razzle dazzle. And what we're gonna do is take the shell and all of its nicely cleaned glory, and we're gonna start putting the buttons back in. What's nice is all the buttons seem to have like with every controller I've worked with so far, they all have this like key, so they only fit in one way. And this is especially important for things like the PlayStation, where all those buttons are the same size, same shape, but they only fit in a specific order. And so these little keys help you locate which area they fit in, especially when you're not looking at it from the front too. It makes kind of a little bit of a difference. So we got those in there, and then what we're going to do is place the silicone right over top, like so, and do the same thing for the start button. And the D-pad. There's a little teeny bit of water in there, but you can soak that up with this pretty easily. Yeah, actually, looks like I still gotta let it dry for a little bit longer. You don't want there to be water just sitting in there on those screws for a long time. So we'll come back and do this later. Once everything's dried off. Alright, time to start putting her back together. See if that stays up there now. Hopefully it does. Okay, so first step, I'm actually going to start the opposite way this time. We're going to put the triggers back together. And let's see if I can get it right. I always have to remember which way they go in. I think that's it. So that's our left trigger, which should go in right here. Looks good. Then we've got our right trigger. Got to add the spring back to it. Probably doing this all out of frame. Oops. So we'll get that reattached here. There we go. And we'll squeeze that puppy back in to its home. Oh, you know what? Forgot one thing with these. I've got to put in the little silicone gasket there, or silicone membrane. But luckily that's pretty easy. You just squish it in. Like that. Oops. There we go. And we'll do the other one quickly here too. Sometimes I might use one of these little things. My fingers are a little too big. There we go. Put that one in there. Alright, now next up is getting these parts installed, which keep the trigger mechanism together. So I put both of those on, and I've got their screws right over here. I'm going to take my Phillips head. And there's 2 each. I'm going to pause while I put in the screws because that's just boring. Alright, got those screwed in. Looks good. Got my little lab assistant here. See if I can keep him out of everything. And now we're going to flip over to the other side. We're going to start putting the buttons in. And buddy, your tail, I swear, it's a good thing I got the soldering iron on the other side. The fried kitty cat. Let's see here. Start button. Yes, I see. You're very curious. None of this is for you. Sorry, buddy. And get our silicone for the buttons. Get out of there. You know, you're not going to be a very good lab. Oh yeah, you don't want to bite on that. I don't want you to bite on that. Here, there we go. Okay, got all of our buttons fitted in there, like so. And this one can sometimes be a little bit tricky, but we put in the hinge first, and then we kind of pop it underneath. There we go. And we'll just try to make it so it doesn't pop right off. Now the next thing we're going to do is put the motherboard in. So we'll see how this goes with the new wire. I'm not entirely sure how well it's gonna fit, or how much I'm gonna end up looping it around, but we're going to give it a shot here. Weave it through. I try and do this without bending any of the wires. Kind of defeat the purpose of what we just went through here. But there's a little loop there that I can use and then bring it down and up. Believe it or not, that's how they designed these to be. So we're going to leave it like that, and then the button stayed there, which is good. The last thing we're going to do, make sure all of our shoulder button sliders are face up, and slide this puppy back on. Looking pretty good so far. Now if I pull on this, that's why it's got that that loop inside, is so that if you yank on that, it keeps it from just yanking it right off of the motherboard, because we don't want that to happen. And what we're going to do, these are actually tri-wing screws, so I got my, you can't see that, I got my tri-wing screwdriver here. And that's what I'm going to use to screw this controller back together. And before I do all of them, I am going to boot up the Wii for one more quick test of the controller. Make sure that the trigger buttons and everything works, because it'd be not very good if I get this back together all the way and then find out that one of the buttons doesn't work. But it's looking pretty good so far. So I'm gonna boot it up for another test. I won't record that one, and I'll just get the other screws put in. But as long as everything goes according to plan, this baby should be back in business. Well, the test was successful, and we've got a revitalized classic GameCube controller. All the buttons are working. It's been nice and cleaned up. Got the back with all the screws back into it, and a brand new cable. So we're in good shape. Thanks for watching.